few comments before we get down to our real agenda. In the last couple of editions of our journal record, we've had some heroic type incidents that have happened with our Hamilton Police Department, being saving a child's life that was not breathing. And then the most recent incident was to foil a burglary in progress, and about 100-mile chase that ensued back around Graysville, I think is where they crashed their car. And some of the guys, according to the reports, were pretty notorious folks that were here in town trying to, I guess, do some burglarizing and what have you. So appreciate our work that our police department's been doing, and all I can say is keep up the good work, guys. We need it from you at a time like this. And our ISO ratings just came out, thanks to Tim Rye and the hard work that the fire department did. We came out with better fire ratings in the ISO report. We went from 6/9 inside the 5-mile circle from the fire station to a 6/6X. That's a better rating than the 6/9, and of course our areas outlying beyond the 5-mile circle remained the same, but we were proud to get those lower ratings on our fire code, so that was good. We heard after our audit was completed, and our auditors did send out information to the insurer of our bonds, and American Build America Mutual Assurance Company insures our bonds, and they're maintaining a AA rating. We just got word, Angela got that word this week, so we're proud to have them on board with us, taking care of our bond matters. We like good folks to be on board with us. We had done some work, promised you that we'd do some work on getting quotes for a tank contract. Rodney has heard back from that, and a 10-year contract, maintenance contract program from them will cost us $999,050. That would be paid in installments of 120 installments of $8,325. So with that said, I'm willing to drop out of that idea. We're talking about $1 million in a contract that I'm not willing to enter into it. Of course, they itemized these tanks, Mitchell Hill at $91,500 for maintenance on it. The Baggett tank, that's out in Weston, we're 25 turns, $73,500. The Rabbit Hill tank, $84,000. The Old North tank, $167,250. On and on it goes. Just really expensive work there.
Is this water tanks you're speaking of?
Well, these are water tanks. Yes. And there's more than $1 million laid out in estimates here, but that's just estimates. That's not when they get down to really doing the work. So I think we better just spout these off one at a time, as we have to service them, and not get into $1 million contract on maintenance.
I think $1 million would go a long ways on it.
Yeah, and once you're into this contract, you pretty much have to stay in it, or you get hurt by pulling out. So I'm any of y'all want to look this over, you're more than welcome to take a look at it. It's lengthy in several pages, but I'm gonna lay it out there if any of you want to look before we leave. It's right there. But I just thought it was something, at least on getting this work done, we can put this work out for bids and get the best bid each time we maintain one of them, and I think the bid method in this case is gonna be our best bet. So, but I did want you to know that Rodney followed up with I think this is a good company, but I'm just not really interested in entering a $1 million commitment from the city. People might wonder why we had to go up a little bit on our water rates. That's a good example. Maintaining 9 tanks and the water lines that connect to those 9 tanks and reach out for miles and miles around us. It costs a lot of money to run a water and water purification system. Lots of money. But we might be getting a Domino's pizza. I've had dinner with the entrepreneurs that are looking at Hamilton, and we had a sit-down luncheon with them a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I guess now, and they had a target date to be here by August, so we're hoping that that's going to happen. They've been talking mostly to Scott Hunt on the logistics part of it, and they've been recognizing some sites as close to the center of town as they can. Said they'd be first to want to work with school and church groups. They want to be there first on every occasion and get close to those groups. And the sales rep for the company and the franchisee were both here in town, and they'd been looking at us, Winfield and Fayette, and they have picked us over the other 2 cities. So I'm hoping they come on in. They really liked our flow of traffic. They said they looked at our 5 o'clock traffic flow that's going on this corridor, and they said it's tremendous. We just love the amount of traffic you've got that goes on your south corridor here, and they've been watching us over a 3-year period. They've been here multiple times, and they're in some other towns in north central Alabama, and they're very interested in Hamilton. That's Domino's.
Have they mentioned delivery coming with it, or?
Oh yes, full service.
Okay.
He said, we are the company that delivers. And they had their logos on their shirts that day, and very much dressed for the occasion. So that they impressed me. All right, we're down to, I guess, the agenda, and the agenda may go in several directions today. We want to just start out by talking about COVID-19. I was on a conference call with University of Alabama, Dr. McIntyre, who is the head of the Alabama Medical Association. I was listening on their free seminar that they were having while Governor Ivey was on TV and streaming, talking about the continuation of the COVID things that are in place. She did not do any closings during her presentation. Dr. McIntyre was talking about the dangers of this disease and how it continues. She thinks we're still in the first wave of this disease, and that there will be a second wave and possibly a third one, depending on how fast the vaccine can be proven and offered to the people. There's already people that say, I'm not taking any vaccine for this stuff, so I don't know how effective that's going to be if people refuse the shot when it's available. So COVID-19 is still prevalent. There's been some new numbers. Marion County seems to be still in the alarming numbers ranking, and I think we rank up there with Jefferson County and some other hot spots with our numbers. Per capita, we don't have big numbers like a lot of these people have, but per capita, we still have a lot of COVID virus with us. And we haven't demanded that our people wear masks. I say from listening, it sounds like a good idea, that if there's any worries about, getting this virus on our parts, we should be willing to wear the mask. Today, we don't have them on in this room. Gene's got his with him, and Wade's got his. I've got a mask out in my car and 3 in my pickup, and I don't get too far from them, and there'll be occasions when I'll put it on, but a mask is not a bad idea, and I'm not saying we shouldn't wear them. It's just that I don't wanna have to enforce it on people, you know, and say you must wear a mask or you're gonna get a fine for it. I hope it doesn't come to that in this town or in any future time. We're talking about schools starting back. The free tax shopping day, I believe, has been announced for our area. Do you remember when that was, Angela? Our free tax shopping days for people that wanna maybe go out and get their child's school supplies coming up in later July, is it?
It's July the 17th through the 19th.
July 17th through 19th, so that'd be a good time to maybe buy those back to school supplies, and we wanna make sure our audience today recognizes that we think people should take advantage of the free tax days for back to school and other purposes.
Let's talk about this mask again there before you go on.
Yeah,
I kinda think that we should put some kind of deal on it. People are going out here without a mask into your grocery stores and shopping in your stores and things, they should have to wear a mask. I'm for having to, cause look what happened whenever we turn them loose again. Then it's worse than ever. And I actually believe that, and I think we should put and I thought about this a lot. I don't believe in, to begin with, putting a $50 or $100 fine on them. But I think if they're not wearing a mask for the first time they're caught, not wearing one in the public, that it should be maybe a $10, and second time $25. And to get people to wear them. Nobody's wearing them anymore, and look what's happened when they, you know, you got to make people wear them.
yeah.
You know, people won't, I mean, that's just the way it is.
That's well put, Gene. The numbers are what we go with. The statistics are true. But the forcing of someone to do something that's against their will is a very hard thing to do. And I saw people at a gathering the other day, they were at a ball field, and it had 2 signs posted, masks required. Well, there wasn't a half a dozen masks inside. I saw a bunch of the people running around in there. There was nobody wearing a mask, even though the signs were up.
The only way you can do it, whether you like it or not, is to charge them when they don't have it on. And when you start charging $10 or $25 fine, you'll see that mask going over that mouth and nose. They won't get the third one, I'll tell you. I know I won't. I don't think I'll get the first one. I'll wear it, you know.
Yeah,
And
I know,
you know,
you've been
but-
faithful.
But I really believe this is the only thing that's gonna slow it down, not just in Hamilton, but all over this country. People are gonna have to start wearing, how you gonna stop it?
Well,
Until they get, now, if they get some medicine or something you can take to stop, then you're all right. But up until then, look how many more is dying every week than what there was. And you know, you just saved one life here in Hamilton, it's worth wearing a mask. In the public, out in the public, I'm talking about.
well, I mean, that's something that I wanted COVID-19 at the top of the list today, and I'm not trying to move away from it, because we're gonna have some other things that are gonna be spin-offs of COVID-19 in this very discussion today. What about it, Wade? Do you think that we should be forcing people to wear a mask?
Well, I keep mine, I mean, I wear it in some places. I mean, if I happen to go to Walmart,
Yeah.
then it goes on, you know. And most everybody down there, they do wear them. But I just don't know about, as far as
Finding
people in
someone.
Hamilton trying to force them to, I don't know. It might eventually
Right.
work and
Well, the thing about it is, if you go to their funeral, you need to wear one.
Yeah.
What about it,
Because I
Herbert?
mean, that's what's happening, it's killing people.
How do you feel
I've
about
got mixed emotions about it. I mean, I've got one, but I never have put it on.
Yeah, I've worn mine in some places. I've actually worn gloves and mask in the store when I was shopping.
But people like her was talking about me and him. I wised up because 85 years old, when they're over 60 years old and not wearing them, it's dangerous because it can kill you from 60 on up. And at 85, it's sure enough gonna kill you if you get it and don't. I'm not ready, Herbert.
I'll catch a bus today.
These are good discussions. Tammy, you hadn't said anything.
I don't think you can enforce it because I don't think you can, well, you can't enforce it. You might say everybody's gotta wear a mask, but you aren't gonna be able to enforce it. So unless somebody comes up with a plan, and I think it's ridiculous to have something stated that you have to do that you can't enforce. I mean, we don't have enough police officers to run around and how are you gonna enforce it?
You're gonna catch somebody not wearing one, you're gonna give them a ticket. That's how
Who's
you
gonna give them
enforce
the
it.
ticket?
The polices.
Well,
If they're running, we got polices all over town supposedly. Of course, most of the time there's 3 or 4 sitting around together talking somewhere instead of out into the public, you know.
Now,
And-
whoa, I just been bragging on them.
Well, that's they're your police, that's right. But I see 3 or 4
I think
cars.
Tammy's right. I think,
I mean,
Gina, as much as we wanna ask people and try to get people to wear them, I think the enforcement part is the impractical part. And even in a small town like us, I don't think we can be everywhere at all times. I don't think the plants are gonna enforce it inside their plants. I don't think that, I think we should be careful, in large gatherings where there's more than 10 people together. I think that the chances of 1 out of that 10 having it and spreading it, I think are greater than if you got 5, you know. If you got 4 or 5 in a room and we all feeling good, I think your chances are pretty good you won't get it there. But if you don't know the people and where they've been, you know, I think you ought to be very careful. And I recommend a mask, but I just don't think we have the ability to enforce it. And
Yeah, but you're talking about having 4 or 5 together in a room and you don't get it, you don't know whether you're gonna get it or not, because that lasts is about 12 days. They can have it and you never know it for 12 days.
Yeah.
And then cause Scotty and put his kids and wife and all in the house for 12 or 14 days this past week.
Yeah.
Peyton just got out and come to the house today. He was glad to get out, but he put them in there because they had been with somebody that ended up having it when they went to the doctor. And he was afraid that they might have got it.
Well,
But I'm just
the
talking
virus
about
is-
saving lives.
yeah.
I'm not talking about, I don't, you know.
I don't disagree with your comments at all, and I just think the enforcement part is gonna be hard for us. I know some of the governors have closed some beaches, some bars, where there's a lot of people breaking the rule. That's been done. There's a few cities that are requiring these masks outdoors, and they're having a lot of trouble with the enforcement part. But I think the mask is a great idea, and I've got masks and I've worn them in public places since this has broke out, and I'm still concerned about COVID-19, and that I think it treats different people different ways. Everybody don't get deathly sick, but some that you think are strong and healthy, they come down to this and they're wondering if they're gonna live or not. And some of them don't live. And like I say, I'm not trying to get on the next train out. I wanna live a while. And
Well, I do too. I don't want these young'uns running around here and giving it to them.
I know. But for goodness sakes, continue to wear your mask.
You don't, me and you won't have to stay apart if you won't wear that mask. Not gonna let her kiss me anymore.
Camera's rolling, Jim.
Look at that red.
Emma Jean's listening.
She'll say, go right ahead, okay? Kill him. Oh,
We-
man, you know I'm
We
kidding.
may come back on this again, and the numbers, I think, are essential to us. I think we've gotta watch our numbers because they're telling the real truth. The numbers haven't been good since we've opened up certain places, and the more we open up to activity, and we haven't even started playing ball yet. We haven't started going to school yet. All this stuff's just ahead of us, and the things that may come out of this may really tell the story. We may be completely shut down again once the schools go back to the classrooms, and once the guys start coming to the ball fields to practice or have games. I don't know where we're going.
Well, what scares me is this. They shut it down, thought it was stopped. Well, that's not much leadership thinking it was stopped after, 2 weeks or 3 or something, and opened it back up. And now it's worse than ever. So what does that tell you? It should have stayed shut down,
Well,
and you'd have saved some lives anyway, you know, because they had it going pretty good there when they had it shut down, and then they just opened it back up, and then it's right back the same way. I mean, worse now than it's ever been.
in some areas, it's really broke out again. Every place is not the same, but a lot of numbers are pretty alarming right now. So this is a subject we'll revisit from time to time, and we're gonna continue to recommend masks. As a leader of the city and my constituents here, I think all of us see a need for masks. We may not have the ability to enforce the mask right now, but we recommend them.
Well, let's say this, that the Hamilton mayor and the city council met and talked about the mask and whether to make everybody wear a mask or not, and that we have considered everything, and right now, we want to go back and see if everyone, the majority, will put on a mask without being made to put on a mask and being punished by fine if they don't wear one. And if this happens in the next 30 days, it gets a lot worse than what it has. That may be our next step, is to put a fine on people that don't wear one in the public. Maybe they'll listen to it's what I'm saying. If
We wanna put a strong emphasis
Yeah.
on the fact that we believe in the mask as being one of the steps to help prevent it. There's still a lot of questions out there about COVID as to exactly how you get it. I saw some cultures that were done, and it showed someone talking with a mask on versus someone talking with the mask off. And those cultures, when the mask was off, formed much more readily than the ones where the person was talking with the mask on. Sneezing is another,
Oh, yeah.
coughing, you blow more of those
and stuff.
particles out of your mouth when you do those, and nose, and so those are just some good things, and the mask helps control all those things. It makes it a little more difficult to breathe, but if it saves a life, that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, just one. But I think we should talk about it to the people about, we're not going to say you got to wear a mask now, but if things don't start getting better, that's what we're gonna have to do. And we're asking you now to put the mask on and wear them when you're out in the public.
Scott, could you kind of illustrate in a little brief article for us that we recommend as a mayor and council, we are recommending the mask to the people, and we'd like to have that in print, and I think we'd like our endorsement on it.
And if they don't, that the only next move we can make
is to put a fine on people that don't wear them. So they can think about, you understand, whether it help or not, I don't know, but I know I would think about it if I knew that was the next step.
I think what we wanna do on the fine part, we wanna check with Scott and be sure that we'll have to have a mask ordinance before we can enforce the fine, so we better see if we gotta do an ordinance for that. So I want us to say at least in the print that we recommend it, and then maybe we'll get down to the other part of the fine part, once we figure out if we gotta pass an ordinance for it.
Well, I'm just gonna throw this out there, and I'm just gonna say it just like I think it. We're a fine-looking group sitting right here saying we recommend it, and none of us are wearing a mask. I mean, it's,
I had mine on, I took it off because none of y'all had it on. I wore it in here. So don't say none of us. I see here with it on, and then nobody else have on one. I said, what you me wearing on? But I do wear it. I go to Walmart or anywhere I go in a business, I wear it.
Go ahead and make your statement.
So, I mean, basically what I tell people is you just have to use common sense. If you're comfortable without one, you're comfortable without one. If you feel better with one, you need to put it on. There's certain times that I wear a mask. There's obviously times that I don't. I don't have on one right now. But, it all goes back to common sense, washing your hands, keeping your distance, and just general guidelines. And I don't see, is it a good idea? Well, yes, it probably is. Do I do it? Yes, I do it sometimes. It's hard to say, you need to do it because you don't know for sure. My son has asthma. You put a mask on him, you put him outside in weather like this, what are you doing to him? You put him in different situations. You put any people that have breathing impairments in situations where you require them to wear a mask. I mean, you're doing as much damage to them potentially as being exposed. So you have to be real careful when you say we recommend you wear a mask, and it's just.
And we got to, I don't understand that now. We need to say, we'd like for you to wear a mask, we really want you to wear a mask. Or we may have to pass something else if this thing keeps growing, because everybody will be dead and you don't have to worry about masks if they keep on going the way they're going.
It's gonna be real hard for me to say something like that when I'm not wearing a mask my own self.
Well, that's,
So, I mean, I
You
think you
should.
just have to,
if you're on here on this city council and supposedly passing laws to protect all the people in this city here, you should, if anybody should be wearing a mask, us sitting right here should be wearing one. And I do wear one 90% of the time out in the public.
then you need to clarify where the masks need to be worn. It can't just be a broad statement. And then, that goes back to, if you say it has to be worn when you're out shopping and you're in a business, okay, is that the rule of the business or is that the rule of the city? And if the business doesn't concur with your rule, does the city override them, and are we infringing on, their rights? I mean, you're gonna have to think about how you're gonna word this. I mean, you're gonna have to think. You just can't make a broad statement, because if you own a business and you don't require people to wear a mask, and the city comes in and says, you're gonna have to require people to wear a mask, who's gonna enforce it?
He don't require it, the city would be the only one enforcing it.
So, I don't.
And you're not gonna ever get everybody to
Yeah.
wear them now, let's get by that now, we can forget that.
So,
But if we can get 60 or 70% of the people wearing them instead of 30% of the people, we're gonna save some lives. Now, that's just the way it is. I mean, but you can't, you're not gonna ever make everybody wear them.
We've had 180 people lose their life to this disease statewide. And, we've had thousands of cases. No, we've had 900, I'm sorry. We've had 180 cases in our state, in our county. And I think that's now jumped up closer to 200 last few days. But anyway, is that close to right?
203 today.
203. 203 as of today. We've had 958 or 9 deaths in the state. I'll get my numbers right in a minute. I'm shooting from memory, which is questionable. But anyway, we've had thousands of cases, 27,000 maybe, and we've had 958 deaths. So a lot of people are getting over this virus, but it makes a lot of people very sick. And the 1,000 that we've lost, Gene, it's a shame that we lost them to this COVID. The mask, I think we could easily say that we're not opposed, that none of us here at this table are opposed to masks. And where it's practical and especially for your outdoor events, I think it'd be best if people that were gonna be in crowds would have on masks. And I think Tammy's statement about common sense is so important that people should be sensible. We've got a pandemic on our hands, which is taking lives and making others sick enough to have to be hospitalized and put on ventilators sometimes. And I think we could all say, that all of us that are here, that we see a need for masks in certain instances. But to enforce it and to make people wear a mask is gonna be a hard thing. And I do think it's a good thing, especially in public places where you're in a crowd, that you protect yourself. And if you should not know you've got it and have it and you're out there passing it on, that's not good either, because as you say, the numbers are spiking.
You don't know you've got it for 8 or 10 days. That's the problem.
Yeah,
I could be sitting here right now with it, giving it to her.
yeah.
See, without a mask on, and her without a mask on. And I'm 85 years old, and I'm one of them that's supposed to have it, and you don't know, you don't even know it. And you want, isn't that right, 8 or 10 days before you know it? You don't even know it. Cause I know Scotty had
You
put
can
his wife and
incubate-
kids in the house for 8 or 10 days
You
recently.
can be exposed and not even have the symptoms for
Yeah,
several
right,
days.
that's what I mean. It's
And
dangerous.
you know, they say talking loud in a crowd, somebody's talking loud and they've got it, it's spread.
Well, you're spitting it out.
Yeah, it's, you
Yeah, you,
think about it at a ball game or something.
where you holler, yeah.
Yeah, they're hollering in a.
Run, yeah.
Well,
can see
it
that.
doesn't matter, it's just bad regardless.
Yeah, it
You
is
know,
just
it's-
bad, and,
it's not
and
good.
I like that statement about good sense, common sense, protecting yourself. And I don't wanna be hypocritical here, where we are all sitting here unmasked and on the TV camera saying we recommend them. I've got several masks, and I've worn them on occasion. I don't wear them everywhere I go. I don't wear them inside my office, very much, but I've got several masks and I do wear them on occasion, and I think they're good. If I thought they were totally mandatory, I'd have one on this minute, but
Well, I think everybody ought to wear one, I think everybody ought to be wearing one in here. You noticed when I came in, I had mine on.
yeah.
And I think everybody in here should have one on, actually. And, then nobody else had one on. I
Well,
pulled it off.
it's a disease that doesn't show itself
Uh,
readily. I mean, you don't know for sure that you don't have it or do have it till you come down with it.
Right.
And the last person you spoke with might have had it and gave it to you and you didn't know it. you won't know it for a few days.
That's what happened to Scotty and them, reason he put his inside this weekend and all for 10 days, because they found out that they were around a person that did have it. I mean, they didn't know it at that time, but then they had it, and he didn't name who it was, but anyway, they had to go to the hospital with it, they had it. So you don't know who's got it when you're sitting around for 8 or 10, 12 days.
But during this time of the COVID, and when we hardly knew what to do with it, it was so new, we divided our work crews up, and the people who were deemed non-essential were given some furlough time, 2 weeks, as a matter of fact, at home with their loved ones. It was kind of a huddle-in-place thing. We were trying to say, if this is a real outbreak and it attacks this crew that's working, maybe they can be sent home for 2 weeks to get over it while we bring this crew back. So we did some of that. We furloughed some people and continued to pay them their wages, but they had some time off. But we had some essential workers, our operators at our water treatment plant, our wastewater treatment workers that are certified, our firemen, and our policemen were deemed essential. And they didn't get any time off. They didn't get any furloughs. They worked the whole time. And we did not compensate them any extra, even though they didn't get any time off. They did make their regular wages. But while these other people were having some time off, it wasn't vacation exactly, but they had some time off with their families, and they got paid. So we've heard a little bit of rumbling about that from, what are you gonna do for us that didn't get any time off or didn't get any extra compensation, and we worked all the time. So have you heard some of that, Angela?
I have.
Yeah, I have too, and I can understand how you can do that, let some of them off and pay them, and then the others work and never get off. What all you're doing is, why are you paying some and not paying others for, I don't see how there could be a good answer to that. And I'm not just, when I saw it and heard it, I thought, how can you do that to pay these people and them sitting at home watching TV, and these people over here out there digging a ditch or whatever they're doing somewhere working, and they're all getting the same pay.
Well, it was a health risk factor that we decided to furlough part of our crew and save them for, in case this other bunch got exposed and had to be quarantined. As I said, it was new to all of us. We hardly knew what to do with it. I went with some recommendations from the health officials and our own attorney. I took some lead from him and made these decisions about this. But Angela and I have been talking, and tell them what we think might work and maybe somewhat satisfy these essential workers that had to work.
Well, during that time, of course, we were trying to be proactive and flatten the curve. That's what you heard, and like you said, we split our crews so that if part of them did get sick and had to self-quarantine even longer, we still had half of our bunch working. And then we rotated out after 14 days, so the other half could do the same thing. There were some department heads that were able to take off as well. There were some that were not, so they would be included in this. So basically what happened during that time, while those people were off work, to stay home, to flatten the curve, so to speak, we paid them like they were at work. We didn't go the route of trying to do the unemployment. I mean, even the league, Scott and Hunt, different attorneys, that was their suggestion. This is so new, by the time you muddle through all the paperwork of trying to file for unemployment, it's just better to pay them as though they were at work. So that's what we did. We didn't use their vacation time or sick time, anything that they had. We just paid them like they were at work. because of the COVID thing was just such a new thing and nobody really knew what route to go. So having said that, with the essential workers and department head people that actually stayed and worked during that time, you know, we kicked around a couple of options of either giving them 10 days of vacation time added to what they have, or pay them for a week and then give them 5 days of vacation time. There's just a couple of options for us to maybe discuss today on what to do to give them something for having worked through that time. Either pay them a check for 2 weeks, or pay them a check for a week and give them 5 days, or give them 10 days. And I have talked with Alan and Brenda to make sure that wouldn't mess us up on, you know, people's retirement or anything like that and it won't. That can all be justified if we choose to pay them for that time.
Well, you know, and I know, if I was that said, I would be mad and disappointed too if you were paying somebody to sit on their butts when I was working the whole time. And it's not, I don't care how you put it, it's not right unless you do something for those people that say work all the time. I mean, if you were one of them, you'd feel different, that's for sure. I know I would, yeah. I know.
I was one of them.
That's what I mean.
Oh, yeah.
It's just not, you know, how can you pay some to say the 1,000, the others,
So were all the non-essentials that were given the furloughs with pay all treated the same across the board?
How do you mean?
Were they all work 2 weeks, off 2 weeks, work 2 weeks, off 2 weeks, or did some of them work 2 weeks, off 2 weeks?
We
And
just
it went
did-
on for a month, or it went on for 6 weeks? Was everybody that was non-essential and did the 2-week furlough the same?
Yes.
Okay.
We were in the second cycle of that, and we had cut it down to where we were gonna do we decided to go back to 1 week intervals. And somewhere in the second cycle of off and on for a week, we decided to come back to work, bring everybody back to work. So they weren't exactly, the premise was the same, is that they're gonna be off. We had went through the 2-week cycle for each group, but we'd got back to the 1 week cycle. We had decided to go back to just 1 week off at a time. And cause it was looking more like we were gonna come back to work. And then things started to open up. The state people were saying it's okay to open certain things up, so we brought everybody back.
Because during that time, our buildings were closed.
So,
The buildings, you couldn't come in.
so all the non-essential that got the furloughs 1 week or 2 weeks are the same? They're not wanting anything, they're not claiming
Just the ones
anybody
that
was
had to
treated
work
different?
that's
Okay.
asking for
And
it.
you're sure
how
that
many
all
people
these,
was-
Well, it would be all of your police officers, they had to work their regular shifts. All of the firemen worked their regular shifts. Your water treatment people worked their regular shifts, and the wastewater treatment people worked their regular shifts, and a lot of the department heads didn't take any time off. Some of the department heads didn't take any time off. I think some of them did get a few days off.
I got a few, but there were some that didn't get any.
So we thought that to help these people feel more like they were representative of our city and that they mean a lot to us, we'd like to give them a week's pay and a week's vacation as a bonus for them. And that'll somewhat help their situation. And I believe that would put a good feeling on these folks. And I just feel like we ought to give them some money and some time. That's what I'd like to see happening. And
how many people are you
other than
speaking of?
just doing nothing.
How many people are you speaking of? How much money are you speaking of? That's what I'm interested in.
Well, it's gonna be a week's pay for each one of those people, that were deemed essential, and not allowed to be in the furlough group. It'll be probably close to half of our group. Won't be hardly,
Probably in the 20-something people.
I think it'd be between 25 and 30 people, Gene, that we're talking about out of our group. It won't be half of them, but it'll be probably 40% of them never did get any time. We've got the list, we know, we'll be able to calculate it and bring the numbers. If y'all wanna consider some compensation and some time, or either of the two, we're willing to produce the numbers for you. We just wanted to make it an item of discussion today.
Well, when you do that, when you lay some off and pay them, and the other half working, I wouldn't feel too well about it if I was that much that wasn't getting paid. And,
Well, everybody got their paycheck.
I mean, you know,
But they had,
but-
some of them didn't have to put in their work
yeah,
hours to
that's
get
what I
their
mean,
pay.
yeah,
Everybody got paid regularly.
yeah.
How did you come up with essentials?
Well, essentials, as people you can't do without. You can't do without your police force, you can't do without your firefighters, you can't do without these certified men that operate these plants. You can let the regular construction guys off the water department, but those that are certified to purify your water and treat it to go back in the Buddy Hatch, you have to be there. They're deemed essential. And, we tried to make sure that we, looked at these people and as to whether or not they could go home. And then we divided the rest of those crews up and sent them home. About 50% of our workforce, that were non-essential were home 2 weeks at a time on the first round. Then we started another round of 1 week at a time, and things opened up and we had to call everybody back to work.
Well, we never did talk about any of that in the council meeting, did we? To us, y'all just done it on your own. and
Well, it didn't
never
come
was
up,
discussed to
it
us.
didn't come up that they wanted to be paid till, later they said, we don't feel like we were treated right. And they
Well, I
brought it
wouldn't-
right to my teeth,
I wouldn't have either. And,
We didn't.
but I think something like that should have been called a council meeting, at least talked about it, maybe. But,
So our police officers that are no longer employed, they're gonna fall into this also because they were employed during this time?
I wouldn't think so. I would have to double check with Scott because they did get paid when they left for any unused
They got
time.
their vacation and
Had
sick
vacation
days.
time, they got paid for it, so.
Well, they
But
got
I
the-
mean, is this not extra? Because they worked and were essential during that time? I mean, I'm just asking, I don't
We'll have to
know.
check, Lord, we'll check it.
You're way
don't
past
put
our
everything on
thinking.
there once today.
You've been thinking long and hard on this, cause I had not even considered those two that left us.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna do it, you're gonna have to think about, when you do it, you need to make sure everybody's taken care of, it's all done, and it's all over and handled, and you don't have somebody coming back 2 or 3 days or a month later and saying, well, you did this for them, you didn't do this for me, and why didn't you do this, and I did this, and you did that, and all this, it all needs to be handled at one time.
You know of any more cities that did what y'all did, pay them?
Yes. I've checked with all the other cities and they're handling it pretty much however they want to, whether giving them time, whether paying them, giving them comp time to take off. I mean, they're working it out somehow, to compensate their.
But if you give a lot of comp time, you've still gotta have those essentials covered, and then you're gonna be paying time and a half for those that have to come back and cover those shifts, so. I mean,
Just not a good way to do it, are
it's not that easy.
you? No.
We looked at it from several angles, and we figure a week's pay and a week of vacation is as cut and dried as you could make it and be fair to everybody. And, I mean, I hate to give them 2 extra weeks because they're gonna have so much vacation time to take. We're still gonna be paying a lot of overtime to cover those shifts.
That's true.
Well, it sounds like to me that that's all you could do.
I think regular
Under
pay
the
in 1 week
circumstances
would be
that you're in.
a lot simpler than 2 weeks off.
I think that's about all you could do. I don't see any other way, like you say. It doesn't sound good, and it doesn't sound good probably to the public. But still, I don't know any other way you could do it, because you got to have those people there.
But
All the
Tammy,
time.
we'll research your thoughts on the ones that's left the city's employment, and, we won't just try to leave them out in the cold. You know, I guess we were thinking of the people that's with us now, but, if they're supposed to get paid, then we're not gonna miss, we can't give them the 5 days vacation that we're talking about giving the others, but we can give them a week's pay.
I just don't, I don't know. I don't
If that's,
think that would
if
be.
that's gotta be done. I don't know the
Shouldn't
answer
have
to
to
that
be
one.
done.
We're gonna have to look at that one. We may have to even call the League of Municipalities and get a ruling on that. I don't know, is the answer. I've never had that question posed. But we'll try to make sure we don't leave anybody out if we're gonna do something. First of all, we'll have to bring it to a vote at our council meeting. We'll have to put that on the agenda to vote on what we do for them.
If we put that on the agenda for Tuesday night, do y'all want me to have numbers of employees? What kind of money we're looking at? Is that what information y'all will need for us to be able to do this Tuesday night?
And do you want 2 proposals, once you hear the numbers? You wanna look at giving time only, or do you wanna give money and time? Or none of the above? That's what, you know, is on our agenda today. Essential workers, time, compensation, or none of the above, and that's how we're looking at it today.
And a list of who will be getting it.
How many people? Yes.
Not just a number, but the names.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the money
Yeah.
we're speaking of.
We'll provide those for y'all to look at before we bring it to any vote.
Well, we all
Do
wanna
you
do
want-
what's right.
Do you want, yeah, we do, Gene, and that's why we're talking about this today, and, you know, nobody missed a paycheck, during this period of time, and we did it only for safety reasons. As we said, we knew very little about this virus when we started furloughing people, but the moves were being made by the powers that be to, start protecting and shutting down and what have you, and we didn't want any layoffs where they'd go to unemployed. We didn't want our people running to unemployment. They were not unemployed. They were still employees, even though we were trying to save them and get them home with their families where they could be as safe as they could from this outbreak. And it wasn't that anybody missed a paycheck. We just had some time when they weren't on their regular job. But others had to be here, so I think that's what we're trying to do, is be fair with those people that had to be here. We'll have that on the agenda, so be prepared for that one, Monday night, and we'll have numbers to kind of back up what we're trying to illustrate here.
Tuesday night.
The Tuesday night, thank you. The alcohol money agreement that we've had for 2 years with the schools is up for, either continuance or amendment, or if anything, I believe, how much money did we give the schools those 2 years?
$135,000 each year.
That for a total of $270,000. This council agreed to a 2-year deal when they came to us wanting to do the referendum to raise taxes on the people of Hamilton. We agreed to a 2-year deal with a review after the 2 years to see if we want to continue in that, or if we want to do something different. So it's time for that discussion to be held. When do we normally write that check? The first
It's
week back
usually-
to school?
The first week, or when they go back to school, or even the first week of September. It's very close to when they go back to school. I'm not sure what day they go back, but it's within the first 2 weeks of them going back.
Early in the school year, we give them the money.
Yes.
Okay. So we got just a look, do y'all wanna be thinking on this, or do you wanna actually act on it or vote on it, in this next meeting? I mean, it's something,
Well, when's their advisory committee coming to give their report? That's stipulated in the ordinance that they have to come and give the report, and they have until September the 1st of 2020 to give their report. So when are they coming to give the report?
I don't know.
Okay.
Uh,
Well, I don't think we need to vote until we hear their report.
Let them account for it.
Yes.
Okay. All right, well, we'll set it up to get the advisory group to come and give their report then, and y'all be thinking on it as to what you wanna do after hearing the report, because we're gonna have to, this will be a new deal with the schools if we continue on. It will take another, ratification of the action we're doing with them now. So we'll get that report, and then we'll, put it on an agenda in the future as to whether we're not gonna make the agreement again with the schools, or if we'll amend it or discontinue it.
I think they should tell us what they spent the money for this time,
Okay.
because I've had a lot of gripes about us giving them this money.
Now, they gave us something this year, didn't they, after we gave them this money last time? I thought they brought a list of things they had spent, but it wasn't itemized, I don't think.
They didn't, well,
It was like-
when the principals came and spoke, it was when, it was before the new principal at the elementary school took over, so we haven't had anything for this past school year. They haven't been here. So,
We're gonna have a new one at high school too, huh?
right.
Yeah, he'll have to come up with his numbers, cause he probably won't even know about the agreement.
Well, I mean, the numbers of how the money was spent, all that has to be documented, that should just be a printout. They'll just have to, say what their plans are for spending the money. So, how the last money was spent shouldn't be a problem to produce that.
So who do you want to come here? Who did you say?
The ordinance says their advisory committee, but I don't know that they each have an advisory committee. The principals have been coming, so
And they need to say what they're going to spend the new money?
we
What
need
they
to know
spent.
what they spent it on.
What they spend it on.
And the
this
ordinance tells them how to provide
what-
that information. It has to be itemized. It can't just be, Amazon $20. Because the ordinance specifies exactly how that money can be spent. And there's things that it can be spent on, and there's things that it can't be spent on. And if we just get a name and an amount, it has to be itemized as to how it was spent. And,
Do they need to
And-
come to a work session?
They
Do
need to
do
tell
this
us
To the council meeting?
what they want the money for this next what the,
it's outlined in the ordinance, I'm pretty sure how that works. So I don't care where they come.
Do y'all have a preference?
I'd like to hear what they're gonna spend it on, what they need it for.
Let's,
At a work session or
let's
during
No,
the
at the
council
meeting,
meeting?
yeah,
let's try to
council
let
meeting.
them come to our session and give us their reports, and then we'll put it on the agenda after we hear the reports.
Okay.
We'll try to invite them to our very next, session.
That's another thing that I've had most gripes on personally, is more people saying something about us giving them money when it should be the county that's furnishing the money, not the city. What are you gonna tell them? Which is true, it's the county that does, not the city.
Whole nother-
It's a whole nother story, and I just say, well,
Angela, since you handle money in our banking, I'm gonna let you take item 4 and discuss it from A to Z. And,
Okay.
this is about bank deposits, and me and Tammy can't vote on those matters. And, as we usually don't at least. And
Well, that says First State, it doesn't say First National.
Yep, y'all can vote.
I don't have any holdings at I mean, I don't have any reason not to.
In the previous administration, there was, First State Bank, was running, a special thing where they could open up an account for municipalities and give us a special rate. And that rate was 0.5%. So we took $1 million from the general fund and opened up a NOW account at First State Bank. So I've been keeping up with it, you know, the interest or whatever, and over the last couple of months, I noticed interest had dropped dramatically. So I questioned it. Of course, that offer no longer exists. That time is up. So the rate has dropped down to 0.2%. And right now, the way we have our money split up with all the banks in town, you know, it's pretty even. Everybody's got a little bit of something. And my question was, I talked to Dana Scott, and I asked her, of course, interest rates right now are just terrible as far as CDs or savings, anything like that. And I asked her if we could take that money out of the NOW account that it's in and put it in like a CD. We could get more money that way, because the interest rate would be back up around what we were getting in the NOW account. We could do a 12-month CD at 0.45% there, and not actually take the money out of the bank and put it somewhere else. If y'all were interested in doing that, just basically moving it from one type of an account to a CD there at the same bank. And she had just given me some interest rates for like 12 months or 24 months. And they have a 12-month one at 0.45 or 24 months for 0.55. If that's something y'all might be interested in doing.
we get just a little more on a 2-year, but if we had to withdraw it, there's usually some sort of withdrawal penalty. So for the difference, the 0.10 that we'd get from a 2-year versus 1 year, I think that I'd like to stay with a 1-year CD instead of the NOW account rate at 0.20. We get within 5/100ths of what we've been getting on the.
But what was it you said for 6 months? Say that again, what?
For the CD rate,
Yeah, no, short term there.
well, the 6 month is 0.35.
Oh, 0.35, okay,
12 months is 0.45,
all right.
and 24 is 0.55.
Oh, I thought it was more than that, that's what it was.
The rates are just hardly anything right now.
Yeah.
Savings rates and CD rates are not good at any bank. And I've liked the idea of having some funds in all the different banks in town. We don't currently have anything at Wells Fargo, but they're not a local bank. All these are local folks. We got over $1 million at Peoples. We got a little over $1 million at First State, and our general fund then is at First National. And we don't currently have anything with the Federal Credit Union, but they're not really local either. Their headquarters is not local. And I like doing business with our local owned banks.
How much penalty do they charge you if you have to have your money?
6 months penalty if you take it out of a 12-month or longer CD.
Well, I believe with $1 million deposit, you shouldn't have to pay a penalty. You had to have it. I don't know, it may be a state requirement or federal requirement, but we just never know. We might need our money.
I really don't know how you would get a bank to totally waive an early withdrawal penalty. There might be a way without breaking any laws or rules. I'm not sure. The reason most banks impose a penalty is just to keep people from jumping around from one kind of an account to another to advantage themselves, you know. Banks set budgets just like cities set budgets, and somebody moving millions and millions of dollars all the time can throw your budget out of kilter. Let's say prime interest rate rose 4% in a short time, and savings rate rose 2%, and somebody's down here in one of these little CDs. Well, I can take the penalty and get the extra and move my money. Well, that's why the penalties exist, is to keep people from just jumping ship on you and changing it so quickly. But I don't hardly know her. I wish we could get more for our money than that, but I don't think there's gonna be any good rates out there right now. I know
You're
when,
probably better off to go with the 6 months. And then, because things may change, see if this tough year ever gets over, it will. The economy is, in a lot of places, as good as it's ever been. People are making more money than they've ever made.
And the rates may be better now than when she gave me this, so, or they could be worse, but I'll double check with that, but.
How much is 6 months? What's the difference in 6 months and a year?
0.1%, 35 basis points versus 45. Just a tenth.
I mean, are y'all okay with that? That's the main question. Leaving it there, but just changing it to a different?
Well, I personally think if one of the other banks is offering a lot better, I mean, unless there's some problem with the insurance and the amount of money the city has in there, but I mean, if another bank's offering better, I would go with wherever you can get the most, unless there's a problem with the insurance. So, I mean,
Wherever you can get the most money, yeah, I don't care which bank, like she said, but, y'all handle that money, I don't have no money to put in there and handle.
What was the initial, there must have been a reason that they chose First State.
Cause they had that special offer, let me find that. That was something that Dana and them had approached, First State had approached the city. It was a special account they were offering to municipalities if they wanted to put money in it at 0.5%. You know, not a set amount, I don't think. I think, the last administration, they came up with the amount and agreed to do that for $1 million.
But
We-
there's
I'm sorry.
not any 1.5 anymore,
Oh, it was 0.5.
0.5, 0.5%.
Does any of the other banks give more?
Well, I mean, we can check, but, you know, there again, you gotta remember, you don't want to be fair, I guess. We try to keep a little everywhere, but I can definitely shop that rate around. I mean, we can do it like we did before. You know, tell us what you'll give us, and whoever gives us the best rate, that's where we'll put it.
That's what I'd do if it's my money. That's a city money, but me personally, that's exactly what I would do. Whoever wants to pay the most. What do you do, Herbert? You make them, you shop
You
here?
have to do a sealed deal.
You a money man, what do you do here?
I mean, we'd open them just like they were bidding to buy.
Herb just
We-
buys
Just did
gold.
that.
Yeah.
I mean, we can definitely do that.
How much money are we gonna have to invest? I think the rate they pay you, the amount of money that you invest would have a little bit to do
That's
with it.
what I say about the penalty.
Yeah,
Well, as of May of 20, when we balanced it last in that account, there was $1,019,683.18
in which account?
in that account that's at First State Bank now.
That only represents the initial deposit plus the interest, right?
That's right.
We've let the interest add back, so we've gained 19,000 something dollars.
But what's their interest rate this time? if you're fixing to renew it, how much they lowering their interest rate on it?
No, sir, when we opened it up, it's basically like a checking account. We could have treated that account like a checking account. And it was a now account is what they called it.
It don't have a penalty on it for
No.
withdrawal, but CDs would.
Yes.
Well, what I suggest, you get some numbers on, 6 months and a year from the banks on, I don't know how much money you got, $1 million there, and see what they'll pay for 6 months and for a year. You might be able to get more in 6 months than you would for a whole year on some of them, right?
Oh, yeah.
She's
That's what
got
I'm-
their
yeah.
rates. You wanna get her to get it at some other bank other than them? She's got
Oh,
their.
all of the banks
Oh,
in town. Give all of them a chance.
okay.
We're not
Do
playing, we're not, I don't, you know, they play with our money the way they want to, and we sure gotta play.
Her concept is that she keeps an eye on her money and she just wants to be prudent in her, whatever she does. And she asked me for my thoughts on it. I said, well, let's discuss it. Our council will give you good advice on what to do. I don't wanna be the only one having the say on this because it's a lot of money. To me, it's a lot of money. And it's a small rate, and I just wanted y'all to know what
Yeah.
we're faced with if we stay on with them.
No, I think if we can get more money, we need to move and take personally, what do y'all think? Take the highest rate, it's only fair.
That's-
It's fair to the banks. It's not
It's-
fair to the banks for us to take
It's
less
it's
money from one bank and more from, we should take where we can get the most money.
Now, is this something I can act
6 months and a year.
on now, or will we need to vote?
Make
for me to
sure we
proceed with
compare
this funding
apples
it?
to apples. It's gonna, you need to get the now account rates from all the banks and the CD rates, cause we're probably gonna do something. If everybody's 0.20 and we can get 0.45 for a year, we probably gonna do something. Angela, we wanna compare apples to apples in each case. The now account rates and the CD rates for 1 and 2 years. And as Gene says, we might want the 6-month rate too.
Yeah, get to 6 months and 1 year. I don't think we wanna tie it for 2 years.
It's hard for me to think
Not
we
now.
want to because of the way things can change so rapidly. If
Yeah.
an
I
emergency
guess that
comes
would
up.
depend on what the penalty is. Because if your interest rate's higher for 2 years and your penalty is gonna be minimal, then your interest is gonna outweigh your penalty if you have to take it out. So I guess it depends on what the penalty is.
Some banks only impose a 90-day, 3-month penalty, so if, in case of that, Herb.
You get us some figures on 6 months and a year and 2 years and the penalties, if we.
Now, do y'all wanna do it like a sealed bid kind of thing? Each place gave me their rates one time before, and then, you know, of course, I didn't tell each one of them what the other one had done. But then we went with the best rate. Is that the way y'all want me to do it this time?
That's the only fair way to do
Sealed?
it, isn't it? Don't you think? Is that the way you think? Is that the fairest way? We want them all. I believe it's the fairest way to do it.
With rates being so low, I don't believe there'll be much banks offering specials right now.
No.
Almost every bank's got money they can't do nothing with. I mean, I know in the case of First National, they were doing sweep accounts with their extra money at night. Well, that rate went to nothing. I mean, when rates drop so much, they've quit making that money, period. And that's been a real blow to them.
And I mean, we don't have to do anything with it right now, if y'all wanna wait.
If we do anything, we shouldn't do more than a year.
Well, I mean, if we just get some ideas, I mean,
Yeah.
because it's obviously, we didn't know that was a fluctuating account until you caught it, and I'm glad you caught it, because obviously it had been at the, 0.5%, and then for whatever reason, it dropped. So, and I guess I guess that's something, if we go with another, and I don't know if a now account's the same at all banks or not, but we need to know, is this a fluctuating rate, or how long is this rate guaranteed?
Oh, yeah.
So,
that was a promotional
yeah.
thing that they were doing, so evidently the time frame on it.
We need
So-
no more than a year, 6 months and a year. And, of course, you know more about it than I do, but I mean,
We just felt like it was worthy of a conversation today, and we felt like we needed to discuss it with you all because, y'all see after the city's business, and this is important to us. And Angela brought it to my attention. I said, let's just have that as
So
part
there's
of
not
the
a due
conversation.
date on that?
No, it's not like a CD, it's just basically like a checking account, but we never treat it as a checking account.
We earn interest on that
Yes.
account.
can we get more money if it was a CD?
I think so, I would think
Uh-huh.
so, but I'm not certain.
Well, we should look at it and see and find out, because if we got enough money, some of that money we could put on CD and the other on that we could get any time. You understand what I'm saying?
Rates aren't doing enough right now for us to expect big gains on this money, cause rates are flat. I've never seen rates any lower hardly.
That's what,
Till you start to borrow it.
You can finance a house for under 3% right now for 15 years.
Yeah.
If you got a good credit rating, there's a lot of people lend you money now for under 3% on a home loan, guaranteed for 15 years. Home loan rates used to be 6, 7, 8%, depending on the time you financed them.
But you know them people that used to get 15% are crying?
They've
They're
come
not
da-
spending much money now, are they?
They've come down now. I remember when people used to get 5% on a CD.
Yeah.
I saw some of that, looking through my mother's
Yeah.
paperwork, they got 5 on some stuff, I thought, wow, how nice would that be?
I had a 6% loan one time. They
Hardly
do that
anybody
like
now
big,
getting-
they pay
Why don't
it
you just
off.
give us some numbers,
You get that much on
and some of them you know we're not interested in, so we don't.
We'll certainly get some rates and let everybody have a chance to look again before we do any movements. Miscellaneous time, if anybody's got anything they wanna throw out, then we'll listen, and if not, that's all I have for today.
I got one question. Is the city obligated anyway on this Walmart building, the one that, where Tractor Supply?
That's privately owned now.
Who owns it, do you know?
Clement's company out of Texas, investors. Dale McCrillis has got their phone number if you want it.
Clement's what?
Clement Corporation out of Texas. They're a
Well,
bunch of capital investors.
Have you heard anything about Tractor Supply moving?
I haven't.
Reason I asked, I had a feller that said he was interested in the building.
Huh.
And he's in business now.
Talking about Tractor Supply leaving Hamilton.
Yeah,
Hadn't heard it. Hope it's not true.
yeah.
We've got to keep an eye on all of our businesses. Some of them are suffering right now. I want to encourage us all to support our hospital right now. I think it's rough. I think the hospital's having a pretty rough time. They've moved all the doctor's offices down to the old clinic building out of the hospital. It's an inconvenience now for people to go to the doctor here, and I'm afraid it may make our normal audience of patients drift, and I'm concerned about our hospital. I haven't heard any bad reports or no negatives. I'm just, in the back of my mind, somehow I'm concerned. I
We'll
just-
be posting a job.
Yeah.
Erica in the police
Erica's
department.
leaving us,
Yeah. So we'll be posting her job.
yeah, and we'll be announcing the new people that's coming on as our police officers at the next meeting.
she accept a job somewhere else?
Yes. I think she's taking the city clerk job.
She'll be
Hodges,
leaving,
is
going to
that right?
Hodges to be their city clerk. She was our police clerk.
Gosh, I figured we'd have paid her more than Hodges, even being a police.
I think she took a slight cut in pay, but she lives up there. She has
Oh.
to drive in every day. And I think as soon as she gets her training, she'll go back to a little more than we were paying her for her job here. That's what we've heard. I wouldn't put that out as gospel. It's just, we've heard that. Hate to lose her. She's a good girl, been good work, good young lady, let me say it right. I'm sorry. We don't call folks girls and boys, they're men and ladies. She's a good lady and does a good job. Thank y'all for being here today. We'll be ready to, everybody have a good Fourth. Hope you get the blister some hamburgers or something.
Yeah.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/49 County News TV.